Oh, that looks like I'm not even pregnant now. Friends. Oh, twins. Wish.
Twins! Let me take off my glasses so that people can see.
So how do we start? Where does this begin? I'm really excited about this.
I have no idea how to start it. I have no idea.
We just start, okay.
Okay, so...
Shannon, I'm a nail tech.
I'm not just a nail tech though.
Well...
Also her sister. Look at the resemblance.
Yeah, let's look at that. Hardly.
Wow, I see a big resemblance.
You could never.
Where was Uncle Richard the year of
You're
94?
like, you're so much... That's funny. You don't feel like we look a little dark?
A little bit.
Yeah. Let me go see what I can do over here. So how did you get started in this business?
I started working at Mana Collection.
So you actually did nails at Mana Collection?
No, I started there as a receptionist too.
Right.
And the girls there used to do mine and Morgan's nails.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes they'll be like, oh, I can't bother, or maybe tomorrow or whatever. And one day I was just like, but they need doing now. So I went and I bought the acrylic and I just started doing it myself.
Right.
And that's how I started doing nails officially.
I had no idea that you actually did nails when you came to work with me.
Yeah.
That wasn't even out of discussion.
I used to do my own nails all the time.
Yeah. But doing your own nails is... And it's hard to do your own nails. I remember I used to buy the acrylic and all that shit because I have a natural ability for anything like that. Like, you know, I loved. I would do nails, I would do makeup, I would do sewing. I love do them something there.
Yeah.
So doing your own acrylic, I know for sure is not easy.
No, and I'm ambidextrous.
You are, yeah. Which means she's highly annoying.
Highly creative.
I'm kind of ambidextrous. I can eat with both hands, bish.
We can tell. I'm not kidding. Anytime she makes a joke about me, she never says she's kidding. So I need to.
I always say I'm kidding.
No,
I always say a joke.
I need to stop saying more jokes.
Wow.
No.
Ambidextrous thumbs. Are these your PlayStation thumbs?
So the way that this happened.
What happened here?
My nails were 3 times this length.
I noticed they look a little shorter than what you showed me on.
And I couldn't manage it. I couldn't do it anymore. So I got upset and I just started to file it off. And I was going to just take everything off. And I did the other thumb because I was just like, well, I need to work my thumbs. I use my thumbs the most. And then I realized I could just file them down.
It was too late.
It was too late for these 2 bad boys.
Yeah.
But they're okay. They'll be fine.
Back to me.
Well,
you remember when we did them over Christmas and they just stayed forever?
You mean you didn't pop them off?
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Sometimes I get a little
nervous.
No. Hey, I'm not to be blamed. I don't have the perfect nail tech, right? Nobody has a perfect nail tech. I just want to remind her.
You see, there's no joke after that. There's no I'm kidding. There's no sparing.
There is also no perfect product. So sometimes when those 3 things collide, not a perfect client, not a perfect product, not a perfect nail tech. You may have a nail that pop off every now and again.
My clients come for you, but not a perfect nail tech.
No, Shannon, you're practically perfect in every way. But she's the closest I've come to perfect, and I can be quite picky. I'm not really that picky with you. I don't have to direct you in anything.
At the end of your appointment, you're like,
let's hear this.
next time, I would love to get what I came
asked
in here and asked for.
Yeah, so she have a style because I am like family, where all of a sudden my appointment cut short. I'm listening
Not
people.
true.
This is somebody I walk in.
That happened one time.
Yeah. Where's the idea? And then my appointment.
That happened one time.
I have been known to hold a camera for a time lapse for another client.
That also was one time. What? Oh my god.
This appointment started, about 40 minutes late. Just kidding.
No, you're not.
But we had to set. What did your parents say about you moving into like a field like this? Or did they just know that it would?
Yeah.
And especially in Jamaica where the market is so saturated, like what was their feeling on you becoming a nail tech?
Well, that was my biggest fear, this market being so saturated. I was just like, there's a nail tech on every corner. What am I doing? And then...
Well, we'll get back to that for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's a big topic.
And then, well, I just remember my parents saying to me, like, they sat down in the living room. It was like an intervention. And they were like, so what's your plan for after school? And I was just like, I don't know. I don't have a plan.
Didn't you kind of start doing nails at that point? Like, did you start showing them that you were kind of serious about this as a path?
It was when I started to be serious that they were like, hold the phone.
Hold on. You hold the phone a second. What did you study at school?
Environmental science.
Pick up back the call.
I just remember my parents saying, so you know you're gonna need a real job soon, right? And I was just like,
oh, you got the real job thing.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I feel like I have a rebellious streak. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they said that to me, I was just like, okay, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
So now starts the conversation of what am I doing? There's a nail tech on every street, in every plaza, in everybody's house. What am I doing entering this space?
I feel like, because I thought about that a billion times before I started, and Morgan was just like, so what? Who cares? Like, and then I thought about the fact that there are so many different brands of bread.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Like, if
know?
you're ever worried about doing something, just walk down the bread aisle.
Exactly. When Morgan said, just do nails, I was just like, nobody's going to come to me though. I was just like, no. And then there were going to be other nail techs that were going to be like, who is this new girl? Who does she think she is?
Mm-hmm.
So I started,
but how much did that, like, how long did that stop you for? Like, how long before you just buckled up and you were just like, fuck this, we're doing it?
It didn't stop me for very long because I needed lunch money. And it was coming up to Christmas and I was just like, I've never not had a job during Christmas time. And I can't go back. I haven't asked my parents for money like that since I was like 17 and I can't do it again at 21, 22. I remember going to my first house call and I was literally shaking.
I bet.
Like, I was just like, she's gonna figure out that I don't know what I'm doing.
So do you feel like, that's a great thing to touch on, do you feel like you suffered with like some imposter syndrome? You know what I mean? Like,
yes, for the longest time.
Yeah,
I googled it
Yes.
Googled it when I just started. I was just like, oh my god, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Why am I?
So for people who don't know, that imposter syndrome is just like that feeling, like you just said, of like, oh my god, they're gonna figure out that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's just really like such a self-worth issue. Really needs to happen in our world, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as women. We've got to get this idea of failure out of our heads as being something bad and being the end of the world.
Yeah.
It can't be the thing that is stopping us from taking up our space on this planet. Because imagine if you had listened to that. And you didn't for a long time, but imagine if you continued to just not answer your own calling. Like, you wouldn't be here now doing this with me and I think serving so beautifully and in your talent and capacity. So I think that's a big deal to like that people know.
Yeah.
You know?
Took a minute. Definitely still taking several minutes because just stepping outside of my comfort zone to do a YouTube channel or to do even to tweet about anything.
You just have to show up. You know, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I think the minute we take it off of everybody else to meet us, you know, and approve us, it's more like, hey, I just want you to meet where I am. And the best thing that I think I heard recently was, this is the most wonderful thing you can ever remember, Shannon. What you do is not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
And we know that, and we say that. The second part of that is you will either repel who is not for you, like send them far out, or you will attract who you need into your orbit too. And that's really a beautiful thing. We don't want the people who don't want to be here.
Yeah.
So if it turns out that 4 people watch it and those 4 people want to be here, great.
Yeah.
You did it. Get me?
Yeah.
So it's hard to not get hung up on that stuff, but you really, that's our real task right now.
Trust. It's
not easy. You know, and then with social media and how it's set up where, you know, you find yourself constantly in looking for people's approval, and we have to be really careful of that.
I'm just trying to post the highlights.
Yeah.
I had that whole conversation with, I can't remember who it was with, but we were talking about how Instagram is like, everyone is putting people on a pedestal and whatever, and my friend Becca, who does the cookies, her bio for her Instagram is just the highlights. I'm just like, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's literally just the highlights that we post.
But I love that she stated it.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, I think that's the thing, like, even how my Instagram was before it is now, I think you naturally think that people realize that this is just a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Like, meaning, you can't imagine that there are people who really don't understand that. Except that as somebody who understands it, this is what I realized later. It doesn't matter if you understand it's a highlight reel. It can still take a take a toll on your self-esteem. No matter how much you know that this is not what's happening. Yeah. And that's why, you know, even with my page, like, I became very intentional about how I post it. Just like you're very intentional on your work page.
Yeah.
If you could bring some of that to your personal, and that's what I'm saying to everybody, if you could bring more intentionality to what you're doing, it would feel so different. So I don't use Instagram now as a space to be instant. Like, I'm too intentional to be instant.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, this didn't happen in an instant. We had a conversation. Hey, we're gonna do this. We didn't just come together and be like, oh, let's film it. We wanted to look like we did that, but that's not what we did.
That would have been a good idea.
But I'm just saying, you know, it took some level of intention to say, this is what we want and this is what we're trying to achieve, you know? And so my thing doesn't have I don't think I have an iPhone photo on my feed now for a couple months. For the simple fact that I didn't want to spend the time thinking about photos.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'll take some photos. What I want to focus on is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What my message is, how I want to connect with people, which was far more important to me.
I meant to bring that up, that you're just now becoming like, you used to hate social media.
Yeah, because I didn't understand how it fits in my life.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, you know, you must remember that you make the rules for your life.
Yeah.
You can decide how these things fit in your life. You know, I stay off of Twitter because
I tweet to her all the time.
I don't think it's a good place for me. Like mentally, I can't add to Twitter in the way that is good for myself.
I mean, I
can't take away anything from Twitter that I find particularly good for myself either.
I do have to take breaks from Twitter as well because it's so many other people's thoughts.
Yes.
Just
and I have enough.
Yeah, a lot already.
Yeah. And I think that's important. Like, don't be afraid to I'm not a Facebook person. I'm not a Twitter person. I like Instagram. It's to do with how I learn. It's how I take the world in. So I work with that. But I'm not going to go now force myself to be a tweeter because that's where it's at.
Mom calls us twats.
You are all twats. I feel like that, or I need to just like, I don't know, maybe I have a different tribe on Twitter. I just haven't found them. No.
I'm hilarious.
I bet, but you see, that's my problem with Twitter. I think everybody goes there for it's a good one-liner. I'm too long-winded. You see my Instagram. If you haven't, it's Tami. This cup is melting.
You didn't
make it a cup.
Yeah, $1,500.
Bumper class.
Shiny.
Yeah, shiny eye.
Oh God. Her Instagram is actually at Tamichin Mitchell.
What did it say?
Tamichin.
We never called it cup that milk. That's TamiChinMitchell. We'll put it in the description box below.
We'll try.
Apparently.
We'll try.
So,
Oh God.
anyway, I think this was a good chit chat and a way for people to kind of understand why you do what you do, and a little bit about how to kind of. I'll ask this question very quickly. So you said you wouldn't go back and change anything. If you could go forward and see where you're at in like 5 years, what is it?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is literally the 5th time that somebody has asked me this question, and it's appeared on my timeline.
Okay, well, figure it out. Okay, no, let's do it the other way around. I ask this question on my podcast a lot, and you should go check out my podcast. It's Tami Tackles Everything.
It's
and Shannon, I'd love to have you on my podcast to talk about what we just spoke about, because I think that'd be really great. But if you could go back in time and tell yourself a little bit of advice, how old are you and what would you tell yourself?
I think I would want to be. How old was I? I think I would want to be 15, because I think that's when I started realizing that I had, like, not anxiety. I didn't think about it as anxiety problems, but nerves. But that was when I started to realize that something wasn't right, as well as like sexual orientation wise as well. I think I was very confused and very like, okay, well, maybe I'll try to figure it out, but maybe I won't, and what if I don't? And I think I would say there's nothing wrong with you. And that pretty soon you're not gonna have any regrets. So
and you're gonna figure it out.
And it'll be fine.
Right. So then move to a time in the future. How old are you? Like, what are you doing? And what is she trying to tell you now?
I think older me would be laughing at me right now.
She is.
For
Mine too.
for stressing about the things that I stress about,
Right.
and staying awake at night for the things that keep me awake. And I think that older me is going to be like, oh, you
What's
silly
her
girl.
advice she's giving you now though? Is she telling me the same thing?
Stop stressing out.
Yes.
Stop stressing out.
I think it's important to know, intrinsically know that you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the big takeaway for anybody in this lifetime now, is just to know, to have a really deep feeling and sense of, we're gonna be okay,
Yeah.
you know?
We might be able to crop this out, but I feel like if you asked me 3 years ago where I saw myself in 5 years,
Why are we cropping this out?
because it's supposed to get deep.
Come on then, give it to me.
I think if you had asked me in 2016 where I see myself in 5 years,
It would not be even here.
it wouldn't be here. It wouldn't
Yeah.
have even 2 years.
Yeah,
I would have been like, what's the point? Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna be here in 5 years, 2 years,
Yeah.
1 year, like.
Yeah.
And I thought in 2016 that I couldn't think about the future because I didn't have one.
Right.
So
That's very common.
Yeah.
So many people feel that way.
I didn't think that at all. I
Yeah.
didn't know
I
that.
thought you're the only person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like the first thing, that feeling of, and I think that's why it's so important that, you know, this doesn't just become about you just having these frivolous conversations. I think this is a way for you again to have conversations that young women and men need to hear,
Yeah.
you know? And yeah, you might look at what you're doing and say, well, I'm just doing nails or da da da, but no, it's a conversation that has to be had. And if you had somebody tell you, you know, that you weren't alone,
Yeah.
Meaning you didn't get out of that space alone either. And you know,
Yeah, definitely not.
the number one thing I get asked to talk about on my podcast is always around mental health.
Mental health,
I
yeah.
shouldn't say number one, but it's a big one that I get asked about.
I think it's because we didn't speak up until how long ago? 5 years ago, we weren't speaking about mental health that much.
Well, you weren't
Well, we weren't
at
at
your
all.
age. Yeah.
Also, our parents weren't.
Yeah.
Our parents would say like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's all in your head."
our culture doesn't really give us any leeway to discuss mental health. Agreed. And I don't think we deal with it properly.
Yeah.
And I think it was just my time, even spent in England, that opened me up to that conversation a lot sooner.
Yeah.
And it's something that has to change in Jamaica.
Yeah.
But how does it change? We have to start being fearless about talking about it.
Yeah, because even me saying cropping it out, like,
Yeah, you know, you want to take it out, and it's like, no, let's open up the conversation. But it is hard to put yourself out there, but it's also important to know that, you know, and you can if you want to. I mean, ultimately, this is your show.
yeah.
But I always know this as well, like, whenever I have released my shadows or out myself on something or just told other people what troubles me about my life, it feels way better.
Yeah.
You know, and it feels like it's just giving me some freedom to
Yeah.
put something else in that place because it takes up space.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. Lord.
So on behalf of everybody listening, if this doesn't get cropped out, thank you.